Yeah, here we go on a Thursday, getting ready to make some money. That is what it is all about today. Welcome in another edition of the Joe Raineri Show, brought to you by WagerTalk.com. And speaking of them, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Ralph Michaels. He'll be joining us here in just a few minutes, and he'll enlighten us on some of the statistics, some of the trends, some of the points of view that we should be looking at in a whole bunch of games, both in college and the NFL, including tonight's NFC East battle between the New York Giants taking on those Super Bowl winning champion Philadelphia Eagles. Who does Ralph like? What does he think we should be looking at? We'll talk to him in just a few minutes, brought to you by WagerTalk.com. Want to welcome you guys in if you're just joining us for the first time. Thank you very much for making us a part of your day. Would appreciate if you'd retweet, if you'd follow, if you'd subscribe, do all those wonderful things coming to you across all the platforms here. We're on Twitch. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're on Periscope. We are broadcasting to you live on Twitter, and we are loaded today with football knowledge. In addition to the legend himself, Mr. Ralph Michaels, we are going to talk some Buffalo Bills football. And I had told you guys earlier in the week, I called it. My apologies to head coach Sean McDermott there and the job that he has done. I had said that they were going to have to get rid of him if they had any hope of being able to have any success, but I was definitely wrong with that. Also, LaShawn McCoy, will he continue to be a Buffalo Bill, or will he not? So we're going to talk to Sean Murphy. He's of SB Nation's Buffalo Rumblings. Nobody covers the Buffalo Bills like these guys do, so we're going to check in with him. They also just signed a brand-new quarterback, or, well, I don't want to say a brand-new quarterback because he's about 105, but Derek Anderson is now a member of the Buffalo Bills. So I know there are an awful lot of people screaming and yelling, thinking that Josh Allen should sit his ass on the bench and Derek Anderson should get behind center, but not so fast. We'll figure out exactly what the boys from Buffalo Rumblings at SB Nation think we should do. Also going to talk to NFL analyst Johnny Kingsley from brickwallblitz.com. Johnny's going to give us a peek into the Cleveland Browns and what they've been doing thus far this year. He'll also chime in on that Miami Dolphin and Chicago Bears game, which is getting ready to set. You want to talk about a franchise that's on the edge here. I can tell you the fan base in South Florida, the patience for Ryan Tannehill, Adam Gase, what started out so promising, a 3-0 start. You had a lot of fans in this town. They were excited. They thought this would be the year they'd finally be able to get over the hump and overtake the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick Patriots. And unfortunately, you want to talk about a tale of 5 games. The first 3 games, there was a totally different tone and feeling in this town with the Miami fan base. And then over the last 2, once they lost and got their ass whooped by the New England Patriots, and then followed that up with a second half debacle of losing on the road after being up 17-0 in Cincinnati. The fans have pretty much had it here in Miami. So we're going to talk to Johnny Kingsley. We're going to get his thoughts on the game, plus Baker Mayfield and a very tricky situation and a tricky spot for the Browns trying to put together a 2-game winning streak, which they haven't done since Ronald Reagan was president. I don't even know when the hell last time the Cleveland Browns were able to actually win 2 games in a row. They're at home this weekend taking on the Chargers, so Phillip Rivers is coming into town. That's going to be an interesting game. We'll talk to him. And then finally, not finally, actually, we're going to introduce you to one of the coolest and one of the smartest individuals that I have had the pleasure of meeting. Her name is Tracy Sandler. She's the CEO and founder of Fangirl Sports Network. And this is awesome. If you guys haven't seen or haven't come across yet on Twitter, social media, the Fangirl Sports Network or the Fangirls themselves, this is really, really, really cool. Really something that, fellas, you got to get the wives, you got to get the girlfriends. If they love the NFL, if they love the NBA, then this is definitely a network you are going to want to get them exposed to. Some really knowledgeable stuff. You're going to love meeting her. She's going to join us here coming up close to 5 o'clock hour, next hour, she's going to drop by, and you'll have a chance to meet what the Fangirl Sports Network is all about. Some really cool stuff. And then, of course, our boy, our expert, our fantasy god, Matt Latufsky, sportingnews.com. He will drop by beginning of next hour. We'll do our stardom sit-ems, and we'll try to make you some money. That is right. We're going to try and make you some money this weekend in your fantasy league. So, like I said, our asses are loaded here today. So thank you very much for making us a part of it. Don't forget the Miami Acura hotline, 855-WTF. 2255. That is how you reach us. That's 855-WTF-2255. And before we get to Ralph Michaels of WagerTalk.com, make sure you get your number 2 pencil out, by the way, people. All right? Jot down the information that he is about to give us. This is how you make money, by listening to the professionals who actually know how to do it, and they do it for a living. So, before we get to that point, do want to thank our good friends over at Miami Acura for making this a possibility here, making the Joe Raineri Show a possibility on the WTF Sports TV network. They want you to stop by, take a test drive, the all-new 2019 RDX. I'm suggesting you do that as well. Why? Because it's completely redesigned, and it's like driving in your living room. Not to mention the deals are unlike anything that we have seen before. This is the time to go out and get that car that you've always wanted. Go take it for a test drive, the all-new 2019 RDX, only at Miami Acura. For those of you in the 305, you've got it. South Dixie Highway, Palmetto Bay, outside of the 305. Simply call them 855-564-4669 and tell them Joe sent you. Well, guys, it is Thursday, and of course that means we get to hang out with our good friend Ralph Michaels, WagerTalk.com. A lot of very exciting games on the slate this weekend. Beginning tonight, we got a little Thursday night football. We got college football. It's going to be a lot of fun, and Ralph joins us via the Miami Acura hotline. And Ralph, thanks for stopping by once again, my friend.
My pleasure.
All right, so let's talk about tonight. Philadelphia Eagles, New York Giants, both of these teams in that bottom-feeding NFC East there. Kind of a must-win for both of these teams here. What do you see? Short week at home. The Giants are an underdog at home. What does it tell you?
Well, you know, a lot of times the Super Bowl winner has a bullseye on his back at the beginning of the season, as well they should. And they traditionally struggle the first 5 weeks. If you look at history, though, from week 6 on, that Super Bowl champ starts to get a swagger if they've had a losing season, exactly what Philly's done, going 2-3. I think this is a must win for Philly than the Giants, because the Phillies were one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl going forward. You know, one stat I'll give you, division away favorites on Thursday night are 18-12, 60%. But here's an odd stat for the Eagles. The Eagles are 0-14 against the spread as a favorite if they're off a home loss. So they're in a situation, last year they only had one home loss at the end of the season, so there were no official home losses last year, but 0-14 in that situation for Philly.
Oh, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. And I know Giant fans they're screaming, yelling up and down. They think they still have a chance, and they think this could be the game that really propels their season. But the Giants, even at home, it's kind of an uphill battle for them, Ralph.
Well, yeah, you know, you thought Saquon Barkley was going to settle all your problems, but you look at the Dallas game, they rushed for 35 yards, 2.1 yards per carry. Against New Orleans, who doesn't have a good defense, you rushed for 65 yards, 4.3 yards per carry. And last week against Carolina, 50 yards rushing, 3.1 yards per carry.
Yeah, no, they got to get it. They got to be better at that if they're going to give themselves a chance. All right, Ralph Michaels, WagerTalk.com, joining us. How about another interdivision rivalry? Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, and boy, oh boy, you got two fan bases here going at each other. Cincinnati thinks this is the year. Historically, Pittsburgh has kind of owned this rivalry. What do you see this weekend?
Well, to me, this one's simple. At the beginning of the year, I had Pittsburgh significantly better than Cincinnati. And in fact, in Vegas, the preseason number, which you could bet into, was Pittsburgh -4. Now you have Pittsburgh, a division away dog for the first time in over 4 years. And one handicapping tool that I rarely go against, if I have the better team that is looking up at their opponent in the standings, as Pittsburgh is 2-1, looking up at 4-1 Cincinnati, to me it's normally a play. And you look at the Bengals, and yes, they are 4-1, and people believe in them. But that Cincinnati's Bengal team is getting outgained by 27 yards per game, and they're getting out first down on the season. Those are not the stats of a 4-1 team.
No, they're not. Although you got to give kudos to what they've been able to do thus far, the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think with Vontaze Burfict back, the defense is, that's kind of their heart and soul right there. But this is a tough situation for them. It's Pittsburgh is the better team at this point, Ralph. So that's a great stat by you.
Yeah, again, it's a must-win for Pittsburgh. And, if Pittsburgh loses this, think about it. They lost to Baltimore, they tied Cleveland, and they'll lose to Cincinnati. They'll be out of any potential tiebreaker at all for anything moving forward with that division record. So you want to put a must-win sign on, it's certainly on the Steelers.
Yes, it certainly is. Ralph Michaels joining us, wagertalk.com. Make sure you follow Ralph, too. Some amazing stuff at Cal Sports LV on Twitter. Always has some amazing information there on his Twitter account. All right, Kansas City, New England. Man, oh, man, people been jumping up and down. The line has kind of been all over the place, but we've got Kansas City here actually getting points as a 5-0 team. That doesn't happen very much, does it, Ralph?
Nope, and you must have been on my Twitter feed following, because since 1989, the last 30 years, only 6 teams have been 5-0 and been a dog in Game 6. In that situation, they're 3-3 ATS, so the number's not going to be something that you could bet on, but for those people that wanted to know what the answer is, that's it. One thing I can tell you, though, is that New England is in a situation that's been over 63% profitable with a third straight home game, so a big scheduling edge as well. Again, I look at this Chiefs team, and, hey, they burned me the last 2 weeks. I've played against them, and I've certainly been wrong. But as a whole, again, the Sharps are going to continue to line up against Kansas City, because despite being 5-0, you have the worst defense in all of football, and you're getting outgained by 59 yards per game.
Yeah, that's the truth. The numbers don't lie there. Ralph Michaels joining us, wagertalk.com. One of these games, too, Ralph, over the weekend that it doesn't – people are going to love Cleveland now, right? People are going to jump all over it now. Recency bias. Cleveland is going to be everyone's darling. They want to root for them. They want to win, but I'm not too sure that we're going to be able to put a winning streak together here this week. What do you think about the Cleveland Browns?
I am a diehard Browns fan. I was born and raised in Cleveland for 50 years and just moved out to Vegas recently. And while I love the Browns, they have to learn how to play differently off a win. It takes a lot to learn how to be a favorite and win in that favorites role or a small dog role. If you look at their situations, the New York Jets, Baker Mayfield came in at halftime. The Oakland game, Baker Mayfield had multiple interceptions, and the O-line struggled. And then against Baltimore, they were behind, and they had to come from behind to tie Baltimore and win in overtime. I haven't seen them yet have a lead, be comfortable with that lead. They blew a big lead in Oakland, and that's the problem why I can't back them in these close kind of games. San Diego is playing well. Yes, it's a long trip, but, let's be honest. These trips nowadays for these players are nothing like they used to be. You're getting on a fancy jet, you're relaxing for a few hours, you're watching a movie, and you're landing in Cleveland. So I don't take anything into consideration for East and West Coast. The time difference is a little bit early for them, but, again, these are pros that have been doing it for a while. I like the way Phillips Rivers is playing with an 11-2 ratio. Melvin Gordon got it going the last couple weeks. They're rushing for 116 yards per game. That's enough to get it done. I just don't have that faith in the Browns, so I'd have to fade him in this role.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, another team, too, is not what it appears to be. The Monday night game, Green Bay, San Francisco. Listen, you look at the San Francisco, a lot of people go, that's it. They lost, they lost Garoppolo. It's going to be a down season. But this is a real defense on the San Francisco 49ers. And C.J. Beathard, at least from a number standpoint, Ralph, it's not that big a drop-off from Jimmy Garoppolo, is it?
Well, you look what he did last week, and he had over 400 yards in that win. In the loss. But you look back at Garoppolo only beat those stats once out of all the starts, and that came the last game of the year last year against the Rams when the Rams were resting everyone. So I believe the San Francisco team is for real. And if you look at last week and you're going to say, well, how can San Francisco play with Green Bay when they lost at home to Arizona, one of the worst teams? Take a look at the stats. 447 to 220-yard edge. That's plus 227 yards. They had over double the yards. And more importantly to me, 33 to 10 first down edge. Now, Baltimore has some injuries, and they've come from behind, but you look at what they've done. I mean, they trailed Chicago in the opener, 17-0. They trailed Detroit, 24-0. They trailed Washington 28-10. All those situations where they had to come from behind and won the game. Now, one interesting stat that I just tweeted again for those that want to follow is that Green Bay does have a bye on deck. And those teams that are a home favorite with a bye on deck since 2014 have won and covered 68% of their games. So when you have the better team and you know you have a bye on deck, it seems they do give that little extra effort.
Yes, they do. Ralph Michaels, make sure you follow him at CalSportsLV on Twitter. Tonight, college football back in action. Big 12, Texas Tech, TCU. TCU laying 7 points here. A lot of people think Texas Tech could throw the Big 12 in a complete tizzy. This is a team that a lot of people feel could do some damage here with the big guns. What do you think tonight?
Well, this is a game where there's so many injuries that I couldn't come up with any side or any total I like. You have Robinson, who was injured, and their quarterback Patterson says he's going to play. Their backup is Michael Collins. And if you look at Texas Tech, they've already played 3 quarterbacks this year. All 3 are banged up. Now, he said he hopes to have all 3 back. Kingsbury does for Texas Tech, but you don't know. TCU really struggled last week at Iowa State. They only had 299 yards. Part of that reason was the quarterback, and part of that reason was they were without both their starting left tackle and left guard. When you're missing side-by-side players on that offensive line, that is tough to recoup. He doesn't know if they'll be ready to go tonight as well. So just an injury play game. And you look at TCU, the scary thing is they're normally a great defense that doesn't turn the ball over. They've had they're -9 turnovers in their last 3 games.
Yeah, well, it's one of those games where it's maybe best just to sit back and watch and avoid altogether. Too many variables there. Ralph Michaels, WagerTalk.com, joining us. Michigan, Big Ten, Michigan, Wisconsin. Michigan opens up as a -7 favorite, and a lot of sharp money comes in, drives it up to 8.5 at this point. Is it that simple, or are we looking at Michigan just being the better team in the better spot here?
Michigan's been down for so many years, and there's so many Michigan fans that they just wait to jump on the Wolverines when the situation is right. They lost to Notre Dame. Now, if they played that again, it probably would even be a worse loss with Ian Book playing for the Irish. But, wins over Western Michigan 49-3, over SMU 45-20, aren't impressive to me. They had one tough game at Northwestern. They did win that game 20-17. But this Wisconsin team, people think they lost to BYU, and oh my God, what's happened to them? Well, they've rushed for 600 yards the last 2 games, averaging 4.8 yards at Iowa, which is a very tough place to play. And against Nebraska, they rushed for 370 yards, 7.7 yards per carry. When I have a good defensive team like Wisconsin is, and you could run the ball, slow the clock down, and I'm getting over a touchdown, that's the side I'm going to back.
You know, and one of the other games we've got this weekend, I don't think we've seen this in a very long time, but Northwestern opened up at -9 against Nebraska, and now we're looking at -3.5 with the amount of money that's coming in. Are we overvaluing Northwestern and undervaluing Nebraska, or is Nebraska just hot garbage?
Well, you know, the Sharps have been on Nebraska the entire year. I mean, and it's just amazing that this team is 0-5 straight up. Scott Frost comes from UCF and is the only undefeated team in college football, and now he goes to 0-5 to Nebraska, where the alum doesn't have that much patience. But you look at their games. I mean, the offense has gotten going. Martinez missed a game, and that was a struggle early on in the year. They struggled at Michigan, only putting up 132 yards. But against Purdue, they had 582 yards. And against Wisconsin, a very good defense, they had 518 yards. So their stats say they are a much better team than that 3-2. And then you look at Northwestern, you know, I'm not sure why this line moved as much as it did. My line is Northwestern 6. So because the line moved, I favor Northwestern, but I still think Nebraska has some value moving forward because of the 0-5 record, but very positive stats in the rushing game.
You know, one final game I want to throw you away, Ralph, something that I've had circled and put a red line under, and I don't understand it, but you've got number 19 Colorado heading out to USC. And Colorado's getting 7 points. And, you know, watching both of these teams this year, I'm not sure that Colorado should be getting 7 points, or USC in this situation, even at home, should be laying that kind of number. Am I crazy here? I mean, we are looking at the Pac-12 South title, basically, in this game. But I like Colorado a lot in this situation.
Well, you know, nobody gave Colorado credit, and really they didn't deserve any credit until last week when they beat Oregon State. Remember, they were the team that had the fewest returning starters. They only returned 10 starters this year, 4 on the offensive side, 6 on the defensive side. You know, they started with Colorado State, who got beat against Hawaii the week before. They went to Nebraska without Martinez. They played New Hampshire, and then they played a UCLA team that we saw wasn't very good in the new Chip Kelly offense. But again, against Arizona State, they did what they had to. They had a 25-18 first down edge. They had a 494 to 367 yard edge. And no team has been more disappointing the last half of a decade than USC. This team can recruit in the top 5 every year. But what do we see them do? Well, we see them win games and not cover. They had the Stanford and Texas are straight-up losses. And the home games, though, UNLV, they won by 18, laying 28. Washington State, they had to come from behind. They got outgained in that game. And at Arizona last week, they eke out a 4-point win. USC now is 2-7 as a home favorite the last 2 seasons. I agree with you that Colorado can keep this game closer, and when you have USC as a favorite, I mean, an outright upset is never a very strong call to make.
Yeah, no, and I like Montez. I think they've got the better quarterback, and I think there's a little bit there's some value here with Colorado, so it's going to be a fun weekend for sure to watch. Ralph Michaels, wagertalk.com. Make sure you check him out at Cal Sports LV. Ralph, always a pleasure talking to you, my friend. Good luck with the games this week. We'll talk again.
Looking forward to talking to you next Thursday. Thanks.
Thanks so much. Ralph Michaels, wagertalk.com. It is your one-stop shop for everything that is sports handicapping, sports betting. If you are looking for some valuable information, and knowledge is power, people, and you listen to Ralph over there, he is just one of a dozen of the world's greatest sports handicappers available to you. You have access to him at wagertalk.com. So don't just go throwing money at a game because, you know, you heard somebody say something one time. Knowledge is power. These guys don't bet games. They bet the numbers. And if you just heard Ralph Michaels, then you understand there's a little more that goes into it than just being a fan. So some money to be made, some great information. And if you missed that interview, the best part about live streaming like we are is that this will be available to you shortly as soon as we're done here. So you can always go back and check it out. Looking forward forward to it, and we've got so much more on tap for you here today. Sean Murphy from SB Nation, Buffalo Rumblings. We're going to talk to him coming up here in just a couple of minutes. We're going to get the latest on the LaShawn McCoy rumors. Also, Derek Anderson, brand new quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. Do they sit Josh Allen? Do they go with Derek? What is happening in Buffalo, a team that is once again an 8.5-point underdog on the road against the Houston Texans this weekend? They have yet in 5 games to be anything more than an 8-point underdog, at least 8 points in every game that they face. But they've won 2 of them, including last week, double-digit underdog at home. Actually, I shouldn't say double-digit. It went off at about 6.5 points. They were an underdog at home. So yet to be a favorite, underdog again. Can Buffalo pull it off? We're going to talk with Sean Murphy from Buffalo Rumblings here in just a couple of minutes and get his thoughts on what's happening with the team. But we also got to thank a few of our sponsors that make all of this happen, and that, of course, are low-cost airline, Superior Cruise Travel, and Miami Acura. And we can't thank them enough for making this possible. I mean, they support us, guys, so we're certainly hope that maybe you'll go out of the way and you can support them. And coming up in 2.5 minutes, we'll talk some Buffalo Bills football. That is coming up with Sean Murphy, Buffalo Rumblings. 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Where do you want to go on a vacation or honeymoon? The Caribbean, Europe, Hawaii, Mexico? How about Disney or a cruise? At Superior Cruise and Travel, we've got you covered. We'll assign you your own travel concierge. They'll help you design a custom vacation plan that you can't find online. And the service is completely free. You can't compare the value of this to any other online travel company. We can help you plan a custom vacation anywhere in the world. We even offer payment plans with no credit card required. Now you pay off your vacation on your time schedule. Call now and mention the promo code RADIO and save up to $500. Book your custom trip. Call Superior Cruise and Travel now and talk to one of the highest-rated travel agencies in the country with a 5-star A+ online rating.
800-901-5536. 800-901-5536. 800-901-5536. That's 800-901-5536.
Were you scammed into signing a timeshare contract? And did you miss the part that said you have to pay for your great idea? Not only for the rest of your life, but when you're not here anymore, you get to pass this turkey onto your family for them to pay for the rest of their lives. Thanks, Dad. Don't burden your family down the road, and don't be stuck with expensive timeshare payments forever. Get out of your bad idea timeshare contract guaranteed, or pay nothing. Call Resort Release today and learn for free how their timeshare exit team can help you legally exit your timeshare contract. They've helped thousands of people, and they're A+ rated with a BBB. So if you feel scammed, get mad and get out of your expensive timeshare contract right now, guaranteed. Call NOW.
800-898-0816. 800-898-0816. 800-898-0816. That's 800-898-0816.
Back pain doesn't take vacations. It never celebrates holidays. It's on the job 24/7 to keep your life exactly where it is, in limbo. But it doesn't have to be that way, because Laser Spine Institute can help you take back your life from chronic neck and back pain. With a less than 1-inch incision, our minimally invasive procedures have provided relief to over 60,000 patients with a 97% patient satisfaction rate. So get ready to stand tall and live the life you've imagined for yourself without pain. Are you or a loved one suffering from a bulging disc, herniated disc, spinal stenosis, pinched nerve, or degenerative disc disease? Call our spine care consultants now for a no-cost MRI review and to learn more. It's time to say goodbye to chronic neck and back pain. What have you got to lose? Laser Spine Institute, the leader in minimally invasive spine surgery.
Call 855-720-BACK. 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 That's 855-720-BACK.
Don't be such a pussy. Subscribe to the Say It With Me podcast with Joe Raineri on iTunes today.
Yes, please do. Don't forget, coming up still, Tracy Sandler, Fangirl Sports Network, the CEO, the founder, one of the coolest one of the coolest sports networks that are available to you via digital platforms. Really cool stuff. You're going to love what you hear from her. Great opportunity for the female viewers and for the female listeners to just really enjoy sports. We know you guys love the NFL. We know you love college football. We know you love the NBA. And what they're doing over at the Fangirl Sports Network is really something special. So looking forward to talking to Tracy, and also NFL analyst Johnny Kingsley. He'll be joining us just after the top of the hour as soon as we talk to our good friend, the master, the legend himself, Matt Latufsky from sportingnews.com. He's going to help us a little stardom, sit-em today, our fantasy lineups. And before we get to talking a little Buffalo Bills action here with Sean Murphy from Buffalo Rumblings in SB Nation, let's check out what's happening down at the Miami Dolphins practice today. Okay, good. Everything looks good in Miami. Nothing out of the ordinary there. So, no, I kid my Dolphin fans. I kid you. So, guys, Buffalo Bills, you heard me talk about them a little bit earlier in the week after they beat the Tennessee Titans at home last week. I did make an apology about Sean McDermott. I was a little harsh on him the beginning in the year, but I've got nothing for respect for him, and I thought it'd be great if we talk to somebody who covers the Buffalo Bills every day, and I couldn't think of anybody better than Sean Murphy, Buffalo Rumblings, SB Nation. He joins us via the Miami Acura hotline. And Sean, thanks for taking a few minutes out and talking with us today.
Oh, no problem, Joe. Thanks for having me.
All right, so the reason I apologized about Sean McDermott is I said there's no way in this NFL that a defensive-minded head coach with a rookie quarterback, high draft pick, was ever going to be successful in this league. And then there you go. You rattle off 2 damn victories that, you only throw for 82 yards. And then it hit me as I'm looking at the tape and I'm watching these games. I'm going, this is a very well-coached team. And there's no substitute for coaching. And make no mistake about it, the reason Buffalo has 2 wins after they've never been favored by less than they've always been underdogs by 8 or more points in every game this year, including the one coming up against Houston. But you don't win 2 games when you're that big an underdog without being very well coached. So what do you guys see covering the Buffalo Bills? Am I wrong here, or is he actually proving and your offensive coordinator proving they're pretty good coaches?
No, I think especially with regard to McDermott, you're 100% right. He's his defensive system really is predicated on discipline and showing a lot of attack mode. Whether they actually attack out of it or not. He's a disciple of that Jim Johnson, the former Philadelphia Eagles defensive coordinator, school of thought where you're going to sugar or double A-cap that center, and then it causes a lot of havoc up front, whether they're bringing 6 guys or 4. So he's been able to create a lot of confusion with other offenses. Regarding Buffalo's offense, like you said, it's kind of a throwback to the 1950s. It's handoff left, handoff right, and hope that you're in 3rd and 3 so that you can hand it off up the middle again. But watching 2 quarterbacks, because even Allen threw for 82, I don't think Mariota broke 130 on Sunday. So that was a low octane offensive game for sure between those 2.
Yeah, and listen, there's only so much you can do. You're kind of handcuffed right now. It is the least talented team, if not the least talented team in the NFL. We know this. Certainly no weapons for the rookie quarterback Josh Allen. Offensive line suspect at best. The defense is what's pushing this engine and pushing this team. But all of a sudden this week we hear Philadelphia is in dire need of a running back. They pick up the phone. They call Buffalo. Your handoff left, handoff right. Your workhorse, LaShawn McCoy, is all of a sudden now up for grabs. What is the latest on that? What have you heard regarding LaShawn McCoy?
Well, McDermott, he was asked about it yesterday, and actually he wasn't even asked yet. He jumped right on it, and he said that there are incoming calls all the time on players, and he would neither confirm nor deny that McCoy had been discussed. All he would say is that LaShawn is obviously one of Buffalo's better players. You could make the argument that he is their best player and really the only player on offense who other teams would be interested in taking. Like you said, it's McCoy and a whole bunch of guys who you look at and say, who's that on the offensive roster? They don't have a whole bunch going on, but my gut, based on what they're saying and how they're talking, is I don't see them moving him. I think it's more just routine Phillies checking in. The rumor was, I think it came from Ian Rappaport, that it was a second and a third round pick that Buffalo was demanding if they were to move McCoy, which I don't think Philadelphia would pay. So I have a funny feeling this is going to be much ado about nothing.
Sean Murphy joining us, SB Nation, Buffalo Rumblings. He covers the Buffalo Bills, who are very, very interesting this year, to say the least. And as for all their shortcomings on the offense, it's still not a defensive team that you want to take on anytime soon. And I think it's going to be a very interesting game on the road in Houston this weekend, where they're once again 8.5-point underdogs, but don't sleep on that defense there. And now you went ahead and brought in a quarterback that has got some history with your head coach there, and Derek Anderson is now on the team, and you've got a lot of people saying get him up to speed and get him starting. What do you say about taking out Josh Allen at this point?
I think that's crazy. I know that Allen has struggled, but I think just about the worst thing you could do for a kid, because let's be realistic, everyone knew that of all of the quarterbacks who were projected to be selected in the first round, Allen was easily the most raw. You could argue maybe Lamar Jackson, but Allen was considered to be a raw prospect. He comes out, he's a starter. He's struggling big time. But I think one of the worst things you could do is just pull him back and start playing this in the lineup, outside of the lineup game with a guy like Anderson. Bills coaches have done the same thing in the past. J.P. Losman was in the lineup, and then Kelly Holcomb played, and then it was Losman again, and then it was Holcomb, and then it was Trent Edwards. So we stunted his growth there. Even more recently with E.J. Manuel, you had a guy who started 10 games, 11 games, and they gave him the quick hook for Kyle Orton. The difference was that both of those guys were in situations where their head coach needed to win and win quickly in order to save his job. I don't think that McDermott is under that same kind of pressure. I think that they're willing to trust in the process that he preaches every day. And they're just going to let Allen take his lumps and hope that next year is year 2 Jared Goff, as opposed to what we're seeing this year.
Well, and listen, the Jets had a very similar situation there. They got their rookie quarterback. They've got their guy, but Absolutely. It certainly helps to have that veteran presence in there. He comes off the field, and, who's he talking to right now on the sideline? So it can't be Nathan Peterman, because Peterman looks like a deer caught in a headlight. So I love the move, but I think people need to slow down with nobody's expecting the Buffalo Bills to make the playoffs this year. I don't think, like you said, Sean McDermott's job is on the line this year, but you got to let him take his lumps, and hopefully you don't get him killed along the way. But not as all lost with this team, especially when it comes to rookies. You got a pretty impressive rookie slot corner, man, that is opening up a lot of eyes this year. Talk to me about Tyron Johnson.
Yeah, no, he's been outstanding. I think I saw a stat tweeted out today that he leads the league in quarterback rating against, and the lowest completion percentage against out of all defensive backs, which we knew that he was going to be a tough kid, and we knew that he'd have the opportunity to compete in there. But that shocked all of us at how well he's performed. And just week to week, watching him grow, he's been really a shutdown corner in the middle of the field, which was not the expectation of a rookie 4th-round draft pick.
It really has. He's been doing great, and he's another one of those weapons that if you give a coach like Sean McDermott the ability to be able to utilize these guys, and really what it's come down to this year with the Buffalo Bills is what every great coach has in common is they put their players in a position to be successful. And if nothing else, That is exactly what Sean McDermott is doing with this defense. It's not the most talented. It's not the biggest, not the strongest, not the fastest, but I'll be damned if each and every week these guys aren't in a position to be very successful.
Yes, there are a few guys. I mean, Matt Milano, for example, one of the starting linebackers, who's a second-year player, 5th-round draft pick out of Boston College, undersized, which is funny for me to say a guy that's 6'2" and 230 pounds is undersized. but he's sitting there and people overlooked him. He had 10 tackles last week. He's been all over the field. Tremaine Edmonds is 20 years old, the rookie starting middle linebacker, who's just, if you watch him make breaks on balls in the air, and he's so fast, he's like a missile in the middle of the field. So they're doing a nice job with a bunch of young kids. They've got some great veteran leadership there in Kyle Williams and Lorenzo Alexander. So it's a nice mixture there that they have going on. And that defense, I agree with you. I think it's one of those units that as the year progresses and they become more comfortable in the system, you're really going to see them even take another step further.
What do you want to see this weekend? I mean, it's so important, especially with a young team, inexperienced team. It's so important to be able to continue to move forward. Whether you win or where you lose, you've got to take some steps forward into getting better. So what is it, Sean, that you want to see from the Buffalo Bills on the road in Houston this weekend?
Oh, I'm greedy. I want to see him win 30-0,
yes,
and Allen throw for 400 yards, and that's what I want to see. I want my cake, and I want to eat it too. But if as they go, you're right. I mean, you just want to see the defense that has, ever since Vontae Davis decided to hang him up at halftime, that they've only allowed 43 points in the 14 quarters since he retired. You'd like to see them continue and go ahead and shut down a really talented young quarterback in Deshaun Watson, who's got some great weapons over there, and DeAndre Hopkins, Kiki Kuti, and Will Fuller V. You'd also like to see Allen come out and just be more, I don't even know what the word is for it, just be more decisive in his reads, be more accurate in his throws. I want to see them do all those things and come out with a win. So.
Yeah.
It's the life of a Bills fan. It's the roller coaster. We ride it.
Amen to that. Sean Murphy, Buffalo Rumblings, SB Nation. What grade would you give first-year offensive coordinator Brian Daboll at this point? I mean, you got a rookie quarterback. You've got a rookie offensive coordinator there. I mean, so what kind of grade would you give him thus far? Is he doing the best with what he's got? Is that how we can say it?
Yeah, I'm going to cop out here as take the high school English teacher mode that I am here and go. I'm going to give him an incomplete as of now.
Okay.
Because I see him handcuffed. He's got a rookie who he can't really do everything he wants to do. He's got an offensive line that is protecting better than expected, but Allen has taken more sacks than any quarterback in the league. He's been sacked 19 times so far. He's really throwing to a mishmash of wideouts who aren't quite getting the job done, to put it politely. I'm going to give him an incomplete in year one so far. I've seen glimmers. I've seen them, do creative things with bubble screens and with play action and be aggressive in situations where past offensive coordinators might have just gone 3 handoffs and a punt. Last week, Allen threw an interception in the fourth quarter in one of those situations. I loved the play call, but Allen threw a strike, hit a wide receiver, Andre Holmes, right in the chest. He couldn't corral it. It popped straight up in the air, and the ball was picked off. So there's things where I think Daboll is making the right decisions, but the talent on the field doesn't necessarily back up what he's deciding to do.
Well, in Andre Holmes' in his defense, he is 105, so it is kind of hard to focus on the ball when it's thrown at you in that direction. All right, Sean Murphy, awesome stuff, man. Make sure you guys check him out. You Bills Mafia, you Bills fan. No better information, no better coverage than at SB Nation, Buffalo Rumblings. Make sure you guys follow him on Twitter. Make sure you check him out at SB Nation. And Sean, thanks for taking a couple of minutes, hanging out, getting us updated on what's going on in Buffalo Bills world, and I look forward to doing this again, my friend.
Likewise. Thanks a bunch.
You got it. All right, Sean Murphy at Buff Rumblings on Twitter, SB Nation, Buffalo Rumblings. If you are a Buffalo Bills fan, and they are some of the best fans in the world, they don't get any better than those guys, then definitely check them out on SB Nation. Follow them at Buff Rumblings on Twitter. Some really cool stuff. I'll give you an interesting statistic, too, here for the Buffalo Bills for you guys. One of the trends going into this week. Keep in mind that The Buffalo Bills have won as an underdog of 8 or more points 5 times since the start of last season. There are two things about that trend that should particularly stand out to Buffalo Bills fans. First of all, the perception of how bad the Bills are, for the most part, has been a lot worse than what they actually are. And second, Buffalo has made a habit of not just covering as a substantial underdog, but actually winning those games straight up. So the money line has been very profitable for those of you backing the Buffalo Bills when they are 8 or more points as an underdog. We watched this against the Minnesota Vikings earlier on in the year. We witnessed it a few weeks ago, and just again, 6.5-point underdog at home against the Tennessee Titans last week, and they ended up winning that game outright. Money line, very, very, very profitable with the Buffalo Bills. They are 8.5-point favorites currently right now as they get ready to head to Houston for this weekend. So just keep that in mind. Just wanted to throw out a little bit of that betting information there for you so you guys know what's going on. Also want to let you know we do have, as we let the NFL information train continue to run, we have got NFL analyst Johnny Kingsley, brickwallblitz.com. He's coming up here in just a moment. We're going to talk about another very surprising team, the Cleveland Browns, trying to put together a 2-win, I can't even believe it, it's a 2-game winning streak back-to-back. They beat the Baltimore Ravens at home in fantastic fashion last week. Baker Mayfield, they got a whole lot of very, very talented pieces on this team. But what do you do with them? And we'll talk to Johnny Kingsley, get his thoughts on not only the Cleveland Browns, but also the Chicago Bears taking on the Miami Dolphins. This is going to be one of the best defenses Miami sees all year long, and they still got to play Jacksonville. It is at home, and the wheels are starting to fall off here in Miami. So we'll get his thoughts on that as well. And want to just take a second out to once again thank our sponsors here on the show. They support us. We support them. We hope that you'll support them too. That includes our friends with Low Cost Airlines, Superior Cruise and Travel, and of course, Miami Acura. So we are 60 seconds away from talking to Johnny Kingsley, NFL analyst, brickwallblitz.com. Make sure you guys check it out. We'll talk to him coming up 60 seconds.
and Dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they were able to work it out so my mom and Dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now Mom and Dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less. 800-663-5107. 800-663-5107. That's 800-663-5107.
It's football season. Better get your honey-do list done and get ready to talk sports. It's the Say It With Me podcast. Here's Joe Raineri.
Okay, guys, so we continue here with the NFL just sandwich we got going on here today. So much NFL knowledge, and I couldn't think of anybody better to come on and start talking some NFL than our buddy Johnny Kingsley, brickwallblitz.com, NFL analyst. Check him out on Twitter, @brickwallblitz. And Johnny, you're in Cleveland, so I appreciate you taking a few minutes out from celebrating last week's victory and stopping by and talking with us, man.
Pleasure's all mine, man.
All right, so let's talk here. We got a game in Miami. Dolphins fans are getting ready to jump off the bridge in very tall buildings here in South Florida. They are going up against one of the premier defenses in the NFL. A lot of questions, a lot of injuries surrounding the Miami Dolphins. What's your take on what we're going to see in this game?
Obviously, you're going to see the Bears defense performing at an extremely high level. Let's consider what the Bears defense is doing right now. They are second in sacks with 18, and they're coming off a bye. The only team higher than them is the Steelers, who have 19 sacks on the season, and they've played 5 games, with Chicago's 4. That is extremely impressive when you consider that. Also, as you may know, the Bears offense is coming off a watershed performance against a Buccaneers defense, which we all know isn't really that good. So there's reason for optimism for Dolphins fans to be concerned about, because the Dolphins secondary is a lot better than the Buccaneers secondary, because they've got guys like Rashad Jones, Micah Fitzpatrick, who are playing phenomenal football right now. Then you got guys like Damian Howard, T.J. McDonald, who have also come along pretty nicely in that secondary. So, and also, this has been floating around a lot, but the Dolphins defense actually leads the league in interceptions with 10. Behind them include the Seahawks with 9, and coincidentally the Bears with 8, and also the Browns with 8 as well. So, my take on this, it's probably going to be a tougher game for the Bears because they're on the road. They're facing a really good secondary in the Dolphins. So I'm expecting the Bears offense to kind of struggle a bit in comparison to what they were doing 2 weeks ago against the Buccaneers. And I'm really just hoping that the Dolphins offense can catch on fire and provide a spark for a team that is kind of on life alert right now when you consider that the Patriots lead the division right now.
Yeah, no, it hasn't been a good stretch for the Dolphins in any stretch of the imagination. But you know what? They are at home. They've got a Bears team, unfortunately, that has been, at least the last game, was firing on all cylinders. But they don't. There's no time to cry. There's no crying in football. So they've got to get back on track in a very still winnable AFC East, depending on what happens with the Patriots. And you being in Cleveland, Johnny, talk about excitement, man. You guys got to be jumping up and down here. You've got your quarterback. You've got a very high-level defense. He's got some weapons, and now you're trying to put together back-to-back wins. And it's a very tricky situation with a Chargers team that has got Phillip Rivers, who can score with anybody. So what do you think about this weekend's game, Chargers taking on the Browns?
Well, as you said, the Browns team is they're trying to go on a winning streak that they haven't had since 2014. Brian Hoyer was quarterback, and they're facing the Chargers team, which last time they came to Cleveland, that was the last time they won a game before this season. So I will say, though, the Browns defense looks a lot better this time around. The offense does look better this time, too, because Baker Mayfield is obviously an upgrade over Sean Kaiser. He's not a guy that's going to turn over the ball quite as much as he did last year. So, like I said, the Browns defense is a lot more talented this year. You got Myles Garrett absolutely playing at extremely high level. Emmanuel Ogbah is also back, and he's been really good in his return. Then you got guys like Larry Ogunjobi, who has been, in my opinion, one of the best defensive tackles of the league this year. Joe Schobert has come along really nicely as linebacker. He was also the only Pro Bowler the Browns had last year, and he's been phenomenal this year. And, of course, you can't really talk about the Browns defense without guys like Denzel Ward, who is a defensive rookie of the year candidate right now, and fifth-year rookie linebacker Bernard Avery, who is arguably the biggest steal of the 2018 draft. So this Browns team features loads of talent on defense. It's up to the offense to perform to the level that the defense is performing at, and it's tough because they're facing a defense that has a really good secondary with guys like Casey Hayward, Derwin James, who might be the rookie of the year right now, defensive rookie of the year right now, Melvin Ingram, who is playing phenomenal right now. Joey Bosa's out, but this is still a hungry Chargers defense that is still able to rack up pressure, pass disruptions, interceptions. But more along the line, in spite of Hunter Henry's injuries, Hunter Henry's loss on the offense, the Chargers offense is looking pretty good. Phillip Rivers, in my opinion, is performing like an MVP candidate right now, and he's doing that by performing on the road pretty much every game because there's no Chargers fans going up the game, so it's kind of like he's performing on the road every week. But all kidding aside, like Rivers is performing phenomenal right now, and I think he deserves to be an MVP candidate. And since the Chargers are 3-2, like there's really no excuse for him not to be considered one. And more along the lines, you've got guys like Melvin Gordon, who's playing really well. Austin Eckler, despite getting like 2 touches a game, he's performing like out whatever he does to the ball. And Allen's playing really well. Tyler Williams rebounded nicely after having a really rough start to the season in Week 1. The offensive line is actually doing decent. Philip Rivers is not getting hit quite as much as we expected him to. So I'm actually looking forward to this game because the Browns are competitive. They have a competent quarterback in Baker Mayfield who is maximizing plays. He's not really turning the ball over quite as much as he did last year. And as a whole, both defenses excite me, both offenses, as a matter of fact, excite me. So, and not to mention the Browns have been competitive. They've been close in every single game they've played. So there's reason to be excited about the game.
Yeah, there is. Johnny Kingsley, NFL analyst, joining us. BrickwallBlitz.com. At BrickwallBlitz is how you follow him on Twitter. Some great information there. You mentioned Denzel Ward, Defensive Rookie of the Year possibility. You know, there were a lot of people back on draft day when that name was announced on the stage. A lot of Cleveland Brown fans looked at each other and go, what in the hell are we doing? I don't think they're saying that anymore about this kid, are they?
Nope, and it was actually less about the player and more that they wanted Bradley Chubb. But a reason they didn't draft Bradley Chubb is because the Browns were so high in Emmanuel Ogbah, who, in my opinion, is a very underrated defensive end. And I'll be honest, when that pick was selected, I was like, what? But I wasn't like mad. I was like more intrigued. I was like, we passed on Chubb, but. At the same time, I was like, I don't know if we should really draft Chubb because we got Ogbah, who is coming along as a defensive end, and I think is, like I said, is underrated. But then I was able to read some opinions from guys that I trust, and they're like, oh, wow, the Browns drafted probably the best corner in the draft, and it's going to come along nice for them. It's also kind of funny, too, because Browns fans have been complaining a lot about the team not drafting guys from Ohio State. Now they draft a guy from Ohio State. just goes to show, like, there's always going to be a standard against them. But Ward's been making everyone eat crow. He's been phenomenal as a rookie. So I'm pretty sure they're glad that they're wrong anyway.
Yeah, no, I can guarantee you they're definitely glad that they were wrong. What a pleasant surprise that has been. And, of course, Baker Mayfield is what is on everybody's mind in Cleveland. What has impressed you the most about Baker Mayfield with what you have seen thus far this year?
He's competent. He's actually a competent quarterback, which is something the Browns have not had since returning in 1999, although Tim Couch was kind of screwed when he came out because he didn't really have anything going. But really, it's his poise in the pocket. It's his ability to diagnose secondaries, and also the fact that he's not, like I said this like a few times already, but he's not really turning the ball over quite as much as Kaiser did last year. He's got, I believe, 3 interceptions on the season. I'm pretty sure Kaiser had at least double that his first 2 games. But more along the lines, he's just making the offense look competent. Like, this looks like an actual NFL-level offense, and that's because they have an actual NFL-level quarterback. I can't say he's been phenomenal, but I can't say he hasn't been bad. He hasn't been terrible. He's been quite competent. He's had some really great stretches of quarterback play, and I think that's a kind of a blessing to see from the perspective of a Browns fan.
Yeah, no, they got a lot of reasons to be very excited in Cleveland. Johnny Kingsley, NFL analyst, joining us. BrickwallBlitz.com, at BrickwallBlitz on Twitter. Make sure that you guys follow him. What do you think, or who do you think, rather, has got a better chance of putting a 2-game winning streak together this weekend? The Browns taking on the Chargers at home, or the Jets taking on the Indianapolis Colts at home? And neither one of these two teams have had very much success in putting winning streaks together over the last few years. So who do you think's got a better shot of actually pulling it off?
That is a great question. it's funny because I actually just finished writing an article for Jets Wire on the Colts Jets game, and the Colts don't really have anyone on offense. I don't think T.Y. Hilton's going to play on Sunday, so they got guys like Chester Rogers and Ryan Grant playing, and that doesn't really scare anyone, obviously. That's tough because both teams are playing home against. I would probably say like the Jets might have it a little easier. Like they might be. I would probably expect them to get a winning streak going before the Browns, just because like the Browns are playing the Chargers, who are a good team right now, and the Colts are 1-4 and don't really scare you. But at the same time, I think Andrew Luck has played a little better than people think, and the reason for that is because obviously his arm strength isn't quite where it used to be, but the receivers are dropping like every pass he throws, and I think the Colts have given up like fifth most quarterback hits in the league. So that's something when the Jets defense on paper coming into the season was not a particularly dominant one. I didn't think they were going to be really good coming into the season, but the defense has produced the fourth most quarterback hits, 36, going into Week 6, which is extremely impressive. I think that's amazing because I honestly coming. So I would probably say that have more realistic expectation to go winning 2 in a row than the Browns do.
All right, there you go. Johnny Kingsley, NFL analyst, brickwallblitz.com, also on Twitter at brickwallblitz. Make sure you guys follow him. Just a whole lot of amazing NFL knowledge there. And, Johnny, I want to thank you for taking a few minutes out, for hanging out with us here. Good luck to the Browns. Good luck this weekend. And I thank you very much and look forward to doing this again, man.
Appreciate you all. Look forward to doing it again. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Johnny Kingsley. Check him out, brickwallblitz.com. Yeah, appreciate that, Johnny. Always good stuff, and pleasure to actually hear from them. And we're getting excited here, too, as well. A whole lot of really fun games this weekend, both in college and the NFL. He's got a lot to be happy about, certainly in Cleveland. Let's face it, nobody saw the Browns having an opportunity to put together a winning streak, much less possibly winning 5, 6, maybe even 7 games this year. But the reality is they are the real deal, and both them and the Jets are trying to put together a winning streak, which would allow them, and heaven forbid, as we're talking about this, actually put winning streaks together. So it's going to be an interesting weekend for sure. I want to thank Johnny Kingsley for stopping by, and that leads us into also now a little fantasy football talk. Our friend Matt Latushki, sportingnews.com. He joins us via the Miami Acura hotline. And Matt, my friend, what is going on with you? What do I do if I have Jay Ajayi?
Yeah, you're done, right? It's over with Jay Ajayi. And honestly, it might be a blessing in disguise with that guy. So, yeah, he's done. We're going to find out tonight if Wendell Smallwood or if Corey Clement's going to get the bulk of the touches. I think that'll be interesting to see. Right now, I think Smallwood, first of all, he's just been playing, but he's been playing better than he normally does, too. But a lot of reports saying Clement's going to jump right back in, but he's been pretty injury-prone. I think it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be very interesting. Matt Latushki, sportingnews.com, our fantasy god, our fantasy expert. I've gotten a lot of questions this week, Matt, regarding what to do now with Jameis Winston. A lot of guys had him, had drafted him, stuck him on the bench. He had a bye week. Now he's back taking on the Falcons at the Falcons. What do you do with, let's say, for instance, if you have a Marcus Mariota or a Jameis Winston? Like, where do you go with that?
Well, I like Jameis Winston a lot this week. You look at the Falcons. They've allowed 3 touchdown passes to every quarterback they've faced, except for Nick Foles in Week 1. So it's a fantastic matchup. Should be a shootout. And I think you look at this week with Matt Stafford and Drew Brees on bye, there's definitely some people who could use a fill-in quarterback, and he fits the bill. Long-term, I don't know. There's enough good quarterbacks that he'll probably be in the mix with good matchups, but certainly not in every week play. We'll see. And I think with Mariota at this point, he's kind of doing what he did last year. pretty frustrating to own. He'll have his big weeks, but you never know when they're coming. And he's one of those guys I'd just rather not deal with if at all possible.
Yeah, and I got I saw this a couple of times. A lot of people don't exactly know what to do with Eli Manning tonight. We had one that came in, Eli Manning or Mitchell Trubisky going against the Dolphins. I get Thursday night short week. Eli certainly hasn't been lighting it up, but do you go, Mitchell Trubisky coming off that amazing game against Tampa a couple of weeks ago, but coming on the road in Miami, can you trust either of them?
I mean, I don't know who's got that choice. I mean, you should have a better quarterback than either of those two.
Right?
But, if you are,
if you are in a
situation where that's your choice, must be. I mean, if that's your choice, I think I take my chances with Trubisky. The Eagles' pass defense hasn't been great at all, so that maybe tilts it toward Eli. But I just think the pass rush and the Giants' offensive line isn't gonna be a good mix there, and that could pressure Eli either into some mistakes or just ineffectiveness. So, I'm not super high on Trubisky. It almost feels like a sucker's move after his one big game. But I do like that offense, and I think they're using guys they have correctly. And his rushing ability gives him a little bit of a higher floor.
Yeah, exactly. It's good because he can actually, he doesn't fall straight down once the wind blows like Eli does. We were talking just Cleveland Browns here a minute ago. Baker Mayfield has a very interesting matchup at home against the Chargers, and I'll also say this: I'll throw C.J. Beathard in there, a guy that threw for over 400 yards, almost 400 yards of offense last week, and a loss at home, the 49ers. But I know a lot of people are looking at Baker Mayfield and maybe jumping on that bandwagon, and they're all in on him, and a lot of people are just discarding what C.J. Beathard brings to the table. But what do you think about these two guys?
Yeah, I mean, certainly Mayfield's interesting. One start with a lot of stats and turnovers, and another start with good yardage numbers, but not much of anything else. And then Beathard, to me, he threw a lot because they were losing. But, I mean, he turned it over, 5 times, whatever it was. There's garbage time potential in that game. You look at the point spread, but at the same time, not someone I'm trusting in a fantasy lineup. Mayfield's interesting. I like the narrative, the whole one for the Chargers, early game. Might catch a back in. Certainly wide receivers have done well against them this year, especially speedy wide receivers. So this will be an Antonio Callaway breakout, which would obviously help Mayfield quite a bit, too. I think he's on that bubble, but again, I do think there are enough good quarterbacks you don't have to take that chance with him. And, with rookies, you never know what you're going to get.
Speaking of the 49ers, Matt Latowski, SportingNews.com, joining us. Matt Breida is going to be out because of an ankle injury, and now enter the game Alfred Morris, I believe. Is that a viable option now this week?
I think so, just for no other reason than touches. Like, he's going to get them. He's going to get 15 to 20. He's not a good pass catcher, but, they'll throw it to him. So he'll get a few catches. And I don't really like the matchup. It's a game where they could fall behind early, and he could find himself sort of, out of the game flow. But look, they were behind early last week, and he got 21 touches and 90-some total yards. He's going to get the carries if they're inside the 5. So yeah, I definitely think he's in the mix as long as Matt Breida is out.
And we've also got some questions too that came in regarding Nyheim Hines from the on the Colts, who quietly has turned himself into a pretty reliable fantasy option, especially in PPR formats. Do you like the matchup against the Jets for somebody like Hines?
Yeah, I mean, it's an okay matchup. You look at T.Y. Hilton probably out. Eric Ebron's pretty banged up. He might be the only game in town, sadly. But, now it looks like Marlon Mack will be back this week. And, fantasy owners have been down that road with that guy before. But, as much as we just want to dismiss him, and, he can't stay healthy or he's not good or whatever you want to say, the bottom line is he could come in and get touches. And I don't know if anyone can run the ball on the Colts. I don't know if their offensive line is good enough. But Hines, to me, just given his size, is not a 20-touch-a-game guy. So I kind of think that was a little bit of a red herring, all the touches he got last week, and I think if they have an alternative, someone like Matt, they will give him carries. but I do still like Hines a lot in PPR leagues for sure.
Yeah, and then, of course, you've got the on the other side there, the New York Jets. You've got people went out and just foamed over the mouth of picking up Isaiah Crowell after his 200-yard performance there against the Denver Broncos. Do you like the matchup, Isaiah Crowell, against the Colts, or do you think expecting anything even close to what we saw last week is probably asking too much?
Yeah, well, I mean, just look at his pattern. Big week 1, bad week 2, big week 3, 4 carries, 0 yard week 4, and then 200 yards in week 5. And he's nursing an injury. I don't know if he'll play, probably. But either way, you look at the Colts defense, it hasn't been as bad as we thought it was going to be. And specifically been pretty good against the run. And but they have a tough time containing backs in the receiving game. They're giving up like 66 receiving yards a game to backs. And so I think this profiles as a Bilal Powell week. And look, you even look at last week where Crowell has this monster game. Powell had 5 more carries. He had 20 carries. He's been more consistent in terms of touches and in terms of total yards this year. So as much as, everyone's going to say, well, you got to play Crowell, a guy had 200 yards and touchdown and all this and that, it's just a tough situation with him. I don't know if you're ever going to be able to trust him. Quite frankly, I'd be trying to sell high just so I wouldn't have to deal with that headache all year.
Okay, man, that's a good point. All right, Matt Latufsky, sportingnews.com. We got a tight end question coming in here. I want to know whether or not David Njoku or Cameron Brate for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Njoku, and the targets are strong. The yards have gone up every week. No touchdowns. You can say he's due. You can say, this and that. I'm just not – I don't know. I don't know if he's that guy this year. And I really like Brate this week. No O.J. Howard. We know he kind of has a little bit of a connection with Jameis Winston for whatever reason. And there's a lot of mouths to feed on that offense, a lot of different receivers who can take it to the house and sort of limit each other's productions. But I do like this spot for Brate. Falcons have been – I mean, they've just been terrible overall defensively. And certainly against tight ends. So I think this is a good spot for him.
All right. Well, I got another running back question in here, and it's suited just for you. David Johnson or Kenyon Drake?
Yeah, Kenyon Drake, our boy, right? Went off last week, of course. Now that he's basically a receiving back, third down receiving back, he's doing better. So figure that one out. But, it's got to be Johnson. I mean, he salvaged his season by touchdowns. The yards just haven't been there, and that's been disappointing. Anytime a guy's touchdown reliant, it's a bit dicey. But I mean, why you want to go back to Kenyon Drake? You know what I mean? Like, right. Cool, he had a good game, but now he's playing the Bears. It's one of the best defenses in the league. Great run defense, limited running backs in the receiving game. So yeah, I'm not going to take the bait on him just yet.
I got Doug Baldwin or Corey Davis.
Yeah, I mean, tough one. The bottom line with Doug Baldwin is I just don't think he's healthy. And, Tyler Lockett's stepping up. He's playing well. The Raiders are a defense you think you can pick on, sure, but I just don't trust Doug Baldwin right now. And I understand people who don't trust the Titans in general right now. Don't get me wrong. Another team where, you're talking about Kenyon Drake, Derrick Henry's got to be another Alabama back. Something, I don't know what Nick Saban does. He runs those guys on the ground at college. But whatever it is, all I know is people don't like that offense, but I do think you can at least count on Davis for targets, and I'll take the opportunity.
Dion Lewis or Adrian Peterson?
Man, that's a tough one. That decision might be made for him with Adrian Peterson questionable. I would guess he plays. Either way, I like Lewis a little more. Just, the weird thing, you look at last week with the Titans, and Derrick Henry's going over 5 yards a carry. The game was close. You figure, hey, keep feeding them. And somehow Dion Lewis ends up with more carries, and we know he's more active in the receiving game. So I like Dion Lewis. I like his usage.
What is and I guess Deshaun Watson at this point has been I guess he's going to go, or at least that's the word on it against Buffalo. But we've got this guy Kiki. Is it Kute? I don't want to pronounce the guy's name all wrong, but talk to us a little bit about him because his name has popped up an awful lot this week.
Oh, sure. I mean, I made the point that we got these wide receivers. They sound like they're from a Key and Peele sketch with Marcus Valdes-Scantling and Equanimous St. Brown, Kiki Cutie. But look, I mean, we weren't sure what the deal was with him after a couple weeks ago because Will Fuller was out. Well, Will Fuller was back last week, and Cutie went out there and got 7 targets. He more than doubled Fuller in targets, and he got the short touchdown on the little shuffle pass. And I like him. I think he's legit. He's talented. Look, Will Fuller is the kind of guy, he's a big play guy, kind of like a Deshaun Jackson type. He can do a lot with the little, so I'm not just saying he's done by any means, but look at that offense, right? They can't run the ball. And Deshaun Watson's basically a real-life video game player. He's just out there to run around and throw the ball downfield. And so I think they can support 3 wide receivers in fantasy. And I'm definitely intrigued by what Cuty's been doing so far, and I think he's going to keep getting targets.
How about we got just a couple of more here. Matt Latufsky, sportingnews.com, fantasy guru, joining us. Robbie Anderson, right? 3 passes, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns last week. The question, Robbie Anderson going up against the Colts or Keelan Cole of the Jags going up against the Cowboys?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of both those guys. Nothing stands out in the numbers where you look at, the matchups. Look, Anderson, he caught the 1 touchdown in week 1, his only catch of that game. He obviously had the big game last week. I just don't think he's reliable at all. Obviously, Cole really hasn't been either, but the targets were back on track last week, which I think is a really good sign. And look, I mean, with no Leonard Fournette, the Jags might have to throw more too. And I think, he'll be in a position to take advantage of that.
And what about Alex Collins? We've gotten a bunch of people who are just completely frustrated with the season he's had thus far, losing goal line touches to Buck Allen along the way, which has been a concern, and a lot of people very upset. But he's got another tough matchup coming up against the Titans this week. And is he worth continuing to hold on to, or should you take him out of your starting lineups?
No, I mean, I'm not a fan of him at all. You look at the Titans, and they do allow a good amount of rushing yards to running backs, but nonetheless, you look at the snaps last week. I think Buck Allen outsnapped them by like 30. So even though Collins got more touches, ultimately, Allen is the guy they seem to like on the field. Obviously, he's much more used in the receiving game. They use him along the goal line. Collins is a pretty good player, and he can have a good game any given week, but right now he's trending downward. And in a matchup against the Titans, which isn't particularly great, he's not a guy I'd be looking to get in my starting lineup if I could help it.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And one final one we've got here has to do with Kenny Stills, Jamison Crowder, or Deshaun Jackson.
I mean, I think that's got to be Jackson. You just play the matchup there. Crowder's banged up. Man, after Monday night, I don't know what to make of that team either. They probably will bounce back, but you just can't trust it at this point against a decent defense, getting Thomas Davis back with the Panthers. And, Stills is fine. I don't mind Stills, but again, real tough matchup against the Bears. So I just say play the matchup, hope for the big play.
And how about, Austin Hooper? Actually, a lot of people saw a lot of value with him, certainly in daily fantasy last week, because the Steelers can't cover anybody, especially tight ends. But is it worth taking another shot with him? 9 catches, 12 targets, 77 yards last week, going up against the Buccaneers. Do you like that matchup there for Austin Hooper and the Falcons?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's another great bat. I mean, the problem is, when has Austin Hooper ever had 2 good games in a row? So it's a little bit worrisome, just from the law of average standpoint. But, yeah, on paper, it's a fantastic matchup. He's been coming around here 2 of the last 3 weeks. The targets have been pretty good. And, look, we know Julio Jones ain't scoring a touchdown, so it's got to be someone else, right? And Austin Hooper is in good position to maybe get one.
Yeah, and Mohamed Sanu, a lot of guys didn't even draft him. A lot of people just thought that he was, Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones were going to get all the catches. But now Sanu has been, quietly all of a sudden pulling up the stats and pulling up the touches.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this game, which just totally profiles as an up-and-down shootout. I think you can play all 3 of those Falcon receivers. I think you can play Austin Hooper. Not all 4 are going to score probably, but all 3 got a chance to get yards and or a touchdown. And I say the exact same thing about the Bucs. Play all 3 of those receivers. Play Cameron Brate, and just watch the stats pile up.
And let it ride. All right. Appreciate it. As always, Matt Latufsky, sportingnews.com. Make sure you follow him. M. Latufsky on Twitter. Read his stuff each and every week. His columns are awesome on the sportingnews.com. And, Matt, it's always a pleasure talking to you, brother. Enjoy the weekends, man, and we'll talk to you again next week.
All right, thanks a lot.
You got it. Matt Letusky, Sporting
News.com.
Let's turn that down. Thank you very much there. Wow, I got a little feedback there. But good stuff from Matt, as always. And, yeah, I do think there's going to be just an absolute boatload of points scored in that game, too. Atlanta and Jameis Winston coming off another week's worth of rest. I think Jameis is ready to take center stage once again. Forget about Fitzmagic. And I do think that there's a lot of value in both sides of that football there from the offense. And who knows? To me, Julio Jones, because he hasn't had an awful lot of scores this year so far, to me, this has got like a 2 or 3 touchdown game all over it. I expect him just to toast the secondary of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But all sorts of good stuff there. I want to thank him for stopping by. And coming up here, I'm going to introduce you to Tracy Sandler. She is the CEO and founder of the Fangirl Sports Network, which, guys, is one of the coolest, and I mean the coolest things happening right now in the world of sports. We love our digital platforms here. We love our Facebooks and our YouTubes and our Twitters and our Twitch and everything along those lines. But there is really, really a movement happening right now that Tracy and the Fangirl Sports Network is behind and out in front of just about everybody else. And I want you guys to hear from her. I want you guys to meet her, and you will do that coming up here in just a minute. But first, again, we just want to say thank you to our sponsors here, Low Cost Airlines, Superior Cruise and Travel, and of course our good friends over at Miami Acura, who certainly invite you to take a test drive to the all-new 2019 RDX. South Dixie Highway, Palmetto Bay, for those of you in the 305 outside, 855-564-4669. The deals have never been better, but you've got to get there. Take it for a test drive before the deals go away. Happen now, 855-564-4669. That's 855-564-4669. In 2 minutes, y'all introduce you to Tracy Sandler, CEO and founder of the Fangirl Sports Network. You're going to want to hear this. We'll do that coming up next.
Where do you want to go on a vacation or honeymoon? The Caribbean, Europe, Hawaii, Mexico? How about Disney or a cruise? At Superior Cruise and Travel, we've got you covered. We'll assign you your own travel concierge. They'll help you design a custom vacation plan that you can't find online. And the service is completely free. You can't compare the value of this to any other online travel company. We can help you plan a custom vacation anywhere in the world. We even offer payment plans with no credit card required. Now you pay off your vacation on your time schedule. Call now and mention the promo code RADIO and save up to $500. Book your custom trip. Call Superior Cruise and Travel now and talk to one of the highest-rated travel agencies in the country with a 5-star A+ online rating.
800-901-5536. 800-901-5536. 800-901-5536. That's 800-901-5536.
Were you scammed into signing a timeshare contract? And did you miss the part that said you have to pay for your great idea? Not only for the rest of your life, but when you're not here anymore, you get to pass this turkey onto your family for them to pay for the rest of their lives. Thanks, Dad. Don't burden your family down the road, and don't be stuck with expensive timeshare payments forever. Get out of your bad idea timeshare contract guaranteed, or pay nothing. Call Resort Release today and learn for free how their timeshare exit team can help you legally exit your timeshare contract. They've helped thousands of people, and they're A+ rated with a BBB. So if you feel scammed, get mad and get out of your expensive timeshare contract right now, guaranteed. Call NOW.
800-898-0816. 800-898-0816. 800-898-0816. That's 800-898-0816.
Back pain doesn't take vacations. It never celebrates holidays. It's on the job 24/7 to keep your life exactly where it is, in limbo. But it doesn't have to be that way, because Laser Spine Institute can help you take back your life from chronic neck and back pain. With a less than 1-inch incision, our minimally invasive procedures have provided relief to over 60,000 patients patients with a 97% patient satisfaction rate. So get ready to stand tall and live the life you've imagined for yourself without pain. Are you or a loved one suffering from a bulging disc, herniated disc, spinal stenosis, pinched nerve, or degenerative disc disease? Call our spine care consultants now for a no-cost MRI review and to learn more. It's time to say goodbye to chronic neck and back pain. What have you got to lose? Laser Spine Institute, the leader in minimally invasive spine surgery.
Call 855-720-BACK. 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 That's 855-720-BACK.
So, guys, I'm real excited about our next guest here because it's not often that you get to find people in the world of sports who are innovative and really doing some special things when it comes to sports talk and covering the favorite teams. But this is pretty special because Tracy Sandler, she's the founder and the CEO of Fangirl Sports Network, better known as FGSN.com. Make sure you guys check it out. She joins us via the Miami Acura hotline. And Tracy, thanks for taking a couple of minutes out and speaking with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So, Trace, help us understand, for those that don't know what Fangirl Sports Network is, kind of give us just a brief overview of what you guys do.
So Fangirl Sports Network is a network of women who cover right now the NFL and the NBA. And there is a fangirl for every team. And the whole idea is that we have fangirls covering on the team level, but we are creating original content with a female-focused lens. As you probably know, over 45% of NFL fans are women. And when I started this, I did not really feel like there was content geared towards women. So we have created a slate of content to embrace the feminine side and the sports side, because the two can go hand in hand. I think in the past there's been an idea it's one or the other, but clearly that is changing. So that is what we do at Fangirl Sports Network.
How did you get involved originally? Like, how was your love of sports? And I'm going to guess you probably grew up liking the 49ers.
I did. I grew up a 49er fan. I was a big Joe Montana fan, and so I became a 49er fan very young. So I started, originally Fangirl Sports Network just started as 49ers Fangirl, and I would cover the 49ers and do the content every week, and we grew from there. And that was in 2015. 2016, we added Rams Fangirl and became Fangirl Sports Network. Then last year had the AFC and NFC West, and now we have all 32 teams.
Tracy Sandler joining us. She is the founder and CEO of Fangirl Sports Network. Make sure you guys check this out at 49ers Fangirl. That is her Twitter page. You can see exactly the cool stuff that's going on there. And Tracy, let's face it, I mean, the sports world, unfortunately, it's a predominantly male industry. It's male run. It's just, and even for most of us males, it gets nauseating after a while. So how have you found, what are some of the, what are some of the obstacles you've had to you've had to overcome trying to get this thing off the ground?
Well, I've been very lucky, and I don't know if it's just kind of the timing of when I started this, but I've been very lucky. I found a lot of support. The 49ers have been fantastic to work with. I'm credentialed by them now, so I am a beat writer for FGSN covering the 49ers. And so they're a great organization because they're, I think, a very progressive organization, and they embrace, all media, which I think is, fantastic. So that's been great to work with them. The people on the beat are great and super supportive. So I've been very lucky that I have not found too many, I haven't had too many negative stories. I've had people say to me, men obviously say to me, of course. So female-focused content, you talk about the players that are cute? And that's obviously not what we do. And it's unbelievable to me in 2018 that someone would actually say that to me, but they have. But that's just more annoying and ignorant than anything else. But I've been pretty lucky. And most people I talk to do get it. Most people I talk to are like, yeah, this makes sense. I get it. I understand what you're doing. it's important what you're doing. You know, it's needed in the sports world. So I've been very lucky in that way, I have to say.
You know, and for all of the fights and the arguments that I have heard, Tracy, from my friends and from people that I know, the battles that they have with their significant others, their girlfriends, their wives, about you spend too much time watching football, you spend too much time, chasing, getting aggravated, watching this, wearing your jerseys. This is actually an opportunity for, it's not that women don't like sports or don't like the NFL. It's just they've never had a reason to feel like they're included. Is that fair to say?
But it's actually, women do like the NFL. 45% of NFL fans are women. So women actually do very much like the NFL. So I think that, and I think that's something that a lot of people maybe don't know, but that is a huge number of NFL fans to be women. So I think women do like the NFL. I think there hasn't necessarily been content geared towards women. So we do on a weekly basis. On Monday, we have our halftime lifestyle report. And in that halftime lifestyle report, we may do a new cocktail recipe for your tailgate. We've done a mimosa bar. We've done nail art. We have a bunch of that kind of stuff, DIY stuff coming up in the coming weeks. On Tuesday, we have a segment called Fangirl Says Fail, in which we kind of poke fun at player fashion or things the players have done. People can send us videos and photos of them on game day, not at their finest, that we'll use in Fangirl Says Fail. And then we'll have our podcast that night, Fangirl Talk, where one of the other fangirls, Steph McCarroll, who's our Jaguars fangirl, and I talk about, the week in the NFL and then preview the upcoming week. The other day we had Maria Taylor from ESPN on, which was fantastic. And so she talked a lot about her journey. On Thursday, we do Fangirl Playbook, which breaks down rules, plays. This week we're doing, it just launched a few minutes ago. This week it's the teams in the NFL who fly the most, who has the most frequent flyer, which teams have the most travel throughout the season. So Fangirl Playbook has also been really popular because men will say to me, I do know what a direct snap is, but I don't know that I could have explained it that way. I do understand the rule change, but I don't know that I could have gone into that kind of detail and explained the rule change. So that's been a great one. And then Friday is Tracy's Top 5, and it's top 5 things you need to know going into that weekend, or coaches of all time, tough stadiums to play in. And then Wednesday we put it all together in a longer form show. So I say that so that I can kind of explain a little bit what I mean by female-focused content. Because there are a lot of women who do like the NFL. And in the NBA, 30% of NBA fans are women, 30% of MLB fans. Actually, I think it's now 32%, or 30%, and then 32% are NHL fans are women. So women do really like sports. There just hasn't necessarily been a place for them content-wise. But I have also had women say to me, I never did think I liked sports, and then I found Fangirl Sports Network, and all of a sudden it made sense to me, and I got it, and it was fun, and all of a sudden I enjoyed it, and I looked forward to the content, and I understood what was going on. And so that is obviously amazing as well. That's what we want to provide. So I think there's, there are two sides to it, but I think the NFL really lends itself because there's also a social and family aspect to the NFL. It's fun to get together with your friends and watch a game, to tailgate, to have a watch party, to have a Super Bowl party, to go to a sports bar and watch a game, to theme your party around that week's game. That is a fun thing to do. And I think that's something that really appeals to women a lot.
Yes, and again, it's not just, appealing to women, but it's appealing to men. It's appealing to everybody. The content is amazing. It's spot on. It makes you think because it might not necessarily be a point of view that you would think about. And as sports fans, we're always looking to be challenged intellectually that way, going, yeah, I never thought of it. And you've kind of nailed that right on the head there. Tracy Sandler joining us, Fangirl Sports Network, FGSN.com. You guys got to check it out. And I've got to ask you, 49ers girl, got to ask you, no Jimmy Garoppolo, CJ Beathard. It hasn't exactly gone as scripted or as hoped for this team this year, but your defense is still spot on. And I kind of like CJ Beathard, and I kind of like your team in this situation Monday night against the Green Bay Packers.
That it's going to be a tough game at Lambeau. But, yeah, the Packers have been struggling as well. And something I've been saying a lot is, the 49ers were a rebuilding team a year ago that everyone felt it was going to be a good 2 to 3 years before they were really competing. Jimmy Garoppolo trade happened, and all of a sudden they were a little bit more of a building team. But there are still holes on this team. There are still things that need to be cleaned up quite a bit. The defense had a much better day the other day, but, a few weeks ago we're leading the league in missed tackles, and we're having, a lot of problem just all around on the defense, a lot of missed assignments, there's a lot of injuries. So I say to 49ers fans, be patient, but I don't have any problem with C.J. Beathard, and I don't know that the last 2 weeks of losses are really on C.J. Beathard. He has made mistakes, but so has the rest of the team. And football is very much a team sport. So I think Monday night, if they could pull off a win in Green Bay, I think it would be game-changing for the season. This is not a team that's going to go to the playoffs, but this is a team that needs to put together some wins and start hitting on all cylinders. They have games where the offense plays well and the defense does not, or they have games where the defense plays well and the offense does not. They got to start putting together games where everybody's playing well, because even, with or without, even if they had Jimmy this season, there are other issues going on the team that could be preventing them from winning. So I think in the interim, a lot of this stuff they have to start hitting on, and potentially against a struggling Packers team is the place to do it. It'll be certainly a tough atmosphere Monday night in Lambeau Field. And, they still have Aaron Rodgers. But I think there are things that are positive about the 49ers right now. I don't think that C.J. Beathard is necessarily the problem, the reason they're losing. But no, things have not gone as planned. They lost Jet McKinnon a week before the season started. They lost, obviously, Garoppolo in week 3. So, it changes the face of that offense dramatically. And they're battling injuries all over the place. Marquise Goodwin was out last week. Matt Breida has been battling injuries. So they're battling injuries all over the place. So I think for 49ers fans, what you want to look at is, are they improving? Are things starting to come together? And I think that's what they want to see. And I think the 49ers are going to need to start, in games having both sides of the ball playing well, because it's great when one side plays well, but it's not going to win any football games if both sides aren't playing well.
Yeah, no.
So we'll see. If Monday night they can do that against this Packers team.
That's very well said too. Because listen, you need all three facets of the game to be able to win. And with the injury bug that has plagued the 49ers, I give them credit that defense still shows up and keeps you in games. And really, at the end of the day, that's all you can ask for is, going into the fourth quarter, do we have a chance to win this game? And hats off to the defense and what they've been able to do thus far. But I got to ask you, Tracy, you're a University of Michigan grad, are you not?
I am. I sure am. Go
So Wisconsin this weekend is the time running out on?
And I'm a Dodgers fan.
Oh no, and a Dodgers fan. So you got a lot going on.
The entire weekend is Wisconsin. This whole week, my entire weekend is around the state of Wisconsin. But sorry, go ahead. What were you saying about Harbaugh?
I'm thinking about, a lot of people, is the time running out on the Jim Harbaugh experiment here in Michigan? If he doesn't beat Wisconsin this weekend, if we're looking at another year where it's just another bowl game, which has never been acceptable at Michigan, how much more time are we giving Harbaugh here?
I would say this, in my opinion, this is a very important season for Jim Harbaugh. This weekend's game is a very important game. It seems they've been playing well the last few weeks, but they have not been playing great teams. So, this is going to be a test for them. And then after that, they have Michigan State. So they got a big couple weeks coming up. But I do think this is an important season for Jim Harbaugh. He may have a little bit more leeway at Michigan because of his history there, but I think there is a likelihood that if this season does not turn out to be a strong one, then this could be his last in Ann Arbor. But I say that with the caveat that because it's Jim Harbaugh and because of his history with the Michigan Wolverines, he may have a little bit more leeway there than he would maybe have somewhere else.
Yeah, and there's always Ohio State. So, if there's always that rivalry, too, which unfortunately hasn't gone all that well for Jim Harbaugh at this particular point. But
no,
that game can certainly extend a contract here or there. Tracy Sandler, Fangirl Sports Network. Dodgers in 5, is that what we're looking at?
Let's go with Dodgers in 5. Why not?
Okay, good.
And actually, it's funny. I'm a Braves and a Dodgers fan, so it was a week for me last week, but now I'm all Dodgers, so let's go with Dodgers in 5. I like that idea.
Dodgers in 5 it is. All right, J.C. Sandler, founder, CEO, Fangirl Sports Network, FGSN.com. Make sure that you guys check it out. Spread the word. Follow her on Twitter, too, at 49ers Fangirl. Tracy, I thank you so much for taking some time and joining us here today. Best of luck to you. Go Dodgers. Go Michigan. Go 49ers. Enjoy the season. Look forward to doing this again.
Thank you so much. And one thing I just want to say for anybody, any of your teams, it's just at Team FGSN if you're looking for your fangirl. So check her out. She's live every Sunday and previewing and doing post game. So make sure to check that out.
Love it. All right, Tracy Sandler at Fangirl Sports Network, FGSN.com. Tracy, thank you so very much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah, awesome stuff. You guys got to be able to check that out as soon as you get a chance. Really, really great content. Love the knowledge behind it, and it gives you a totally different point of view than the same old blowhard that you hear myself and a whole lot of other people here on social media do. So great stuff. Thank her so very much for stopping by, FGSN.com. Want to thank everybody today. Sean Murphy, Buffalo Rumblings, SB Nation. If you guys didn't get a chance to see that, Bills fans, make sure you check that out. Also, Johnny Kingsley, brickwallblitz.com, NFL analyst. Check out his stuff on the Cleveland Browns. I can't even believe we're talking about the Cleveland Browns. Of course, our man Matt Latufsky, sportingnews.com. All that great fantasy advice, that's available here on the replay. And, of course, the legend himself, Ralph Michaels, wagertalk.com, sports handicapper. His picks, his thoughts about tonight's game. You're definitely going to want to get that. That was in the beginning here of the tape. You got to love live streaming because it's available. As soon as we're done here, you guys can just rewind it and check it out. And a big shout out and thanks to Tracy Sandler from the Fangirl Sports Network. Make sure you guys check that out too. So tonight we get to start to make some money. We got college, we got NFL, and then tomorrow we'll go a little more in depth, a little deeper dive into the college and NFL games this weekend, looking to make us some money. So thank you very much for making us a part of your day. Come back and join us again tomorrow, 4 p.m. We do it all over again. Enjoy the night. Enjoy the games. Thanks so much for stopping by. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.